And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, if you've seen our review of Rum Bones, then you know that we love the game. And if you haven't, don't watch this because I'm just talking about a new faction for it. Go watch the review of that. Here, we're taking a look at Rum Bones, Brise, Sanguine, I think. This is a French faction that's at it. Comes in a box, tons of miniatures, some new ships. We're just going to basically take a look at the faction. Here they are. The first thing you'll notice about this faction here is that they have two ships, okay? These are somewhat smaller ships, so they're not that much smaller than the big ship. So they attack, if the other person's using one ship, they'll attack on both sides. If the other person's using three ships, as in Mazu's Dreadful Curse, then there's another way to set them up. So essentially, it's the same thing, except now you just switch things around. So these guys are gonna run this way, the other two guys run towards that ship, and then also, you'll notice that you have two deck cannons, and they both have hit points of 10. This is pretty cool. That means, though, that you're giving the enemy more targets to go after. Each of these deck cannons only fires 2 dice instead of 4. So you're giving your opponent 6 dice. You'll notice the deployments are next to here, so when stuff is deployed, it deploys here, then moves onto this objective, and then goes straight down the middle, the same way over there. So at the beginning of your turn, you don't put guys on all your objectives. You pick 3 out of the 4 3 out of the 4 deployment points, and you'll start guys there. You'll also notice these guys have a color of blue about them, and they're, different models again, like always. Now let's take a look at the heroes. First, we have the captain, and he can re-roll one of his dice when attacking, and he can hit heroes even if they're trying to hide themselves amongst a bunch of other guys. He can also shuffle his hand into the tie deck, and we'll talk about why that's a big deal. And he can help somebody who's rolling a rigging check on your side, or mess with somebody else. And since the French are all about swinging from the rafters, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Then we have Dante de Monte Cristo here. And this guy here can stun people, slow and silence them, and if anyone gets killed within 2 zones of him, he completely heals, which is actually harder to do than you might think, but it still is a cool thing. Damien Cyr, the gunner here, has a normal, pretty good attack, although the range isn't that great. You can only hit people next to you, but here there's a bigger attack that does 3 damage per hit and can push people back. And also, whenever someone's about to roll an attack onto your zone, you can do 2 damage to that hero and move them 1 zone. So basically like they're shooting and then that propels you backwards. Noble Gaston here can get rid of a condition token from other heroes, which is a big deal. And he can activate everyone in 1 zone. So he kind of leads a mob, which seems very Disney-ish, but hey, whatever. He also has ambush. And finally, this guy here, who's one of my favorite because he's carrying a cannon. Here, he does an extra damage per hit to heroes, so he hurts heroes more, and his mighty swing here, heroes hit are pushed up to 2 zones. I also like the fact that whenever he KOs a deckhand, he gets to kill an extra deckhand. So he only has 2 hits with his with his initial rule, but it can really mess with other people. He can also just run through stuff without, basically ignoring everything that's there. Let's also take a look at the cards here. We have expensive cheese and fine wine. Yes, these are the French. Here you can get rid of 2 damage with the expensive cheese. And if you've already used fine wine, you also get rid of conditions. The fine wine lets you get +1 to hit on your next attack. And if expensive cheese is in your discard pile, you also get 2 coins. The French also have the I Surrender card, which I think is hilarious for one, but also basically when someone's going to be KO'd, they stay around. They have only 1 hit point, but hey, that's better than them dying. You also have a tactical withdrawal. It seems like a very biased faction here. Bon Voyage, when you're about to take damage, you can just fall overboard, which will take you out for a turn, but keeps you from taking maybe a whole pile of damage. But where the French are really interesting is in the fact that they can use the rigging better than anyone else. They have many cards to do that. Here you get a free attack action if you've just successfully used the rigging. Here you can roll a die, and a friendly hero can be placed on any legal zone in a friendly ship. Now this is a double Kraken attack, but it's still worth it. Here you can use Parkour, where you can gain +2 to all your rigging checks this turn. Or Impressive Landing. When you do a rigging, an enemy hero suffers silence. I guess they're so impressed by what you do. You also have Sudden Courage, which can remove all condition tokens from a hero and they get +1 die to their attack. So that's pretty much what comes in this faction. Let's quick take a look at the hero models. And here you go. I love this guy. The fact that he's carrying a cannon around. And, you know, these guys look like they're very demanding, tough. I don't know how these guys are swinging on the rigging, though, when they're carrying all this stuff. This guy here, really diminutive guy, but has a good gun. And then this model here. Models look really good. Now, the good news is everything in this faction fits into the base box, which is good, although barely. There's still a lot of things. I really like the models. Like I said, I really like the guy carrying the cannon. That's pretty cool. But I also like the fact that the 2 ship on 1 ship is a cool thing. It really is. It's not too much of a practical difference. Visually, it's a very big difference, but there is kind of a 2-front war going on. The whole thing is about different people fighting, and now you got some people over here and some people over there. Your heroes can be split, and you have to be very careful when playing the French that you don't get caught up in that. However, you have the most maneuverable heroes there are. There are so many cards that let you jump across the rigging and just jump from ship to ship, and so your heroes can be everywhere. They can jump over here, hit, jump back over here, and there's really no one else as maneuverable as that, and I like that in their deck. So this is a cool faction to add, certainly one that I enjoy. La Brise, Sanguine. Dice Tower Judgment into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.